Hey. It's funny, I've never actually taken a video driving before. But I think this is the spot. So, here's the car. I'll go through just some things. I think the audio is probably good with GoPros. I'm hoping that you can hear. I mean, of course you can hear now. I think you'll hear fine. I just hope it's not all droned out. First I'll go through some things in the car. This is the CD player, has like USB aux, another aux, tuner, disc. I don't know if you care about this. There's some other stuff. One thing to note, the resistor for the fan, 1, 2, 3, works on 4, so works on all and works on 0. You've probably seen it. It's that like spring. It's like 3 springs, a little bit bigger each time. It's right, it goes over there. I've got a new one I can throw in the glove box. Yeah. And let's just go on a drive. Just leaving my driveway here. It rained a bunch, like the last, early this morning. So that's kind of new. It usually rains a lot in Oregon, but it hasn't rained in like since March or April. It's very unusual. So no one here has seen rain in months, and it's really, really weird. It's not common. Brakes all work really well. There's no screeching. You mentioned something about cataloging any noises, so I'm gonna really pay attention to like clinks and clunks. So far I don't hear anything. I don't remember ever hearing anything. I just went over speed bumps just on the left side only. No noises, no like, you know, ball joints or nothing there. Here's another set of speed bumps right here. I'm gonna hit passenger side. And again, everything's really tight. I don't hear any bushing sounds. I don't hear any squeaking front or rear roll bar or anyway, whatever. I don't hear any squeaks or sounds. I do, maybe, you know how this plastic on this console, maybe I hear that creaking a little. Anyway, that's an e30 thing, so you're not gonna get away from that. Just gonna let it warm up a little bit. The seats, so just looking at the seats and talking about them, these are in really good shape for being black. Usually the black leather e30 seats, just the sun hits them, and these ones they're dry. The leather is dry. I think you could probably put some kind of a coat on them to give them a lushness back, but they're not torn anywhere. They've got the cracks that happen, but they're not torn. So that's good. What else? If I don't know how hot it gets in New Jersey, but there was one day this summer where I think it was 108 degrees, and I was idling in like a drive-through. I was getting a coffee or something, and that's the only time I've had to push this electric fan. So the AC button right here is, I mean, normally it'd be for your AC. In this case, this controls the electric fan on the radiator to help cool things down, and that's really effective if it's like unnaturally hot or something. But in normal driving conditions, the radiator and coolant system for this motor in this car work just fine. No overheating or anything. I'm gonna roll down all the windows. So this is driver's side. I mean, there's a noise, slight noise, but that's just the window going down. There's no noise going up. Here's another passenger side, and then going back up. The tweeter, the IS model E30s have front tweeters, these like Rebel or treble high frequency, like better sound system. This one's just a little loose. There's like 3 plastic pins that hold this to the door, and one of them is probably broken. It happens. Sometimes people use just like a small dab of Gorilla Glue or anything. You can find a way to solve it, but you just hold it there for a second or tape it while it's drying, and that solves that. This one on the other side is good. Okay, I'm on a kind of an on-ramp, a mini on-ramp, so I'm gonna just accelerate. Oh, okay, accelerate a little. Well, so in the wet, I can't actually hold traction. I was just gonna accelerate up to, I don't know, 6,000 RPMs or so. This car revs to 7. But anyway, it sounded good up to there. What I might do is actually get on the highway. So I was talking about the looseness or the lightness in the front suspension. I didn't actually feel it here. It's definitely noticeable. I think earlier I said 60 miles an hour, but I think it really starts to show itself more at like the 80 mile an hour range. I'm gonna kind of prove that concept. So like we might have gotten up to 60 just there, or maybe even a little more, but it felt still fine. And just as an example, here's me like turning it to the left and to the right, and it's all very engaged. So it's not, I don't know if it's a steering rack or if it's just that tie rod end on the passenger side. But here we're at 40 miles an hour, 50 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour. Fourth gear. If you want to know about the ratios, right now I'm at like 2,500 RPMs in fifth gear at 60 miles an hour. So I think the limited slip differential is probably maybe a 373 or a 356. It's actually a great combination for the S52 and the ZF transmission. I had an S50 car with a 410 differential one time, and it was a lot of fun. It's very torquey, and it was great, but I was always going down the highway at like 4,500 RPMs. And like I said, in this case, you know, realistically, driving down the highway at say 70 miles an hour, this is about 3,000 RPMs. And actually, it doesn't feel as light as it has been. I'm going 80 miles an hour right now. It's just a little, I don't know, like I'm turning and it just feels light in the front. It's hard for me to describe. I don't exactly know what it is. I just know, I know there's enough weight over the front wheels. I know that a large amount of weight is front weighted, so I don't know. I think the bushings all looked good, so I think the first thing I would start with is tie rods. And possibly a steering rack if you intend to put one in anyway. What else? Maybe I'll get out. There's an exit up here in just a little bit. I might just get out, do a little walk around the car. You said you wanted to see headlights. Headlights. Okay, there's a thing with the headlights. My headlights are on right now. If I want to pull the lever back just to like flash someone real quick and say like, hey, your lights are off, though when I do that, when I pull this lever, I'm not getting, nothing happens. When I push the lever forward for like, I'm on a, you know, dark road and I want my brights on for a while, when I push the lever forward, the driving lights go off and the brights are on. And what's supposed to happen in an E30 is all the lights are supposed to be on in that case. So I think when the previous owner wired in the HIDs, they might have done something that it just, at the final end of the wiring, I would take a look at what's going on there and just confirm that the brights are attached to both the driving lights and the brights, because right now one operation is telling the other operation to stop. And anyway, it's just I think the issue is at the final connection near the headlights. Usually that's what it is. I mean, nothing in the harness is usually ever touched by anyone, so the only thing that's ever adjusted is at the very end. What else? Glove box works well. The ECU is mounted nice and tight up here. That's a really, I would say, a professional way to mount the ECU. Sometimes people leave it like, I mean, people do everything, but this is the way you want to do it. I'm going to accelerate again, getting off this on-ramp. We're going about 75, going 80 miles an hour. So I'm in that range where it starts to feel light again, but it feels okay. I also, I think I said the tire sizes one time. They're 205s in the front and 235s in the back. When I got this car, there were 245s in the back, and they kind of rubbed, like, just, I think they unnecessarily rubbed sometimes, and I switched those out to the 235. I think it's 235 45 17s. That's a good fit. I don't hear really much rubbing anymore. I don't know if I hear any rubbing anymore. None on this drive either. It would be cool if the front was like 225, or even possibly a 235 40, like a square setup, or if they were at least bigger than a 205, because part of this kind of looseness, this kind of like this feeling of driving the way it is, it could be because these are really narrow tires in the front of this car. This would be great in the snow probably. I'm not sure if it's great for anything else, so it would be cool if there was a little more meat up front. I'm gonna find a spot up here and I'll just kind of park and get out and take a look. This road right here is called Skyline Boulevard, and it's like one of the coolest roads in Portland. It's certainly the coolest road closest to Portland. You see a lot of motorcycle groups. You see a lot of drift groups too. They come here. I mean, Skyline Boulevard, and it winds and it goes to other cool roads, and it's all kind of goes out to the country, but it stays right on the very edge of the city. Super cool place. Here. I don't drive like this very often, but I just wanted to show